As a country, I don't think that we have a genuine commitment to fight corruption. We as a people in many ways do celebrate the corrupt. We give pride of place to the corrupt. And when many times I hear people condemning anti-corruption authorities as having failed, I ask myself the mother question. Is it possible for the EACC to eliminate corruption if Kenyans are not interested in the fight against corruption? Kenyans must understand the limits of that body and what it can achieve, and let it not be the sacrificial lamb when we as a country have failed to fight corruption.
But how come the leadership of that particular institution is always seen like they're always on the spot? They always leave office, and there was always something up their sleeve. Like, for example, Kinisu, apparently he had dealings with NYS.
At the time of vetting, at the time of hiring, at the time of investigation, and I have no doubt in my mind that we have several investigatory authorities in this country, was it not discovered that he had dealings with this organization which was subject to scrutiny by the EACC? Did the interviewing panel not ask him about these dealings? These are questions that are hidden to us. What we are seeing is not the whole story. And I would be very slow and reluctant to condemn Mr. Kinisu or to condemn the interviewing panel because I'm not privy to the entire gamut of information that they heard or ought to have heard.
Yeah. Do you draw any parallels between what happened to Kinisu and what happened to you?
No, there is no comparison at all. The reason why there is no comparison, in our case, there was a new law that had come into being, and our body, the Kenya Anti-Corruption Commission, was abolished. And our offices were also abolished. And myself and my 4 directors therefore lost office by dint of amendment of the law. But it was never lost on us that there was a monumental conspiracy by individuals who were subject to investigation to ensure that that particular body did not survive. It must also be remembered that in every country in Africa where leaders of anti-corruption authority have demonstrated by word and deed that they want to fight corruption, they are never allowed to remain in office for a long time. It happened in Nigeria, it happened in Zambia, it happened in South Africa, it happened in Malawi. So this is not something new. In many African countries, anti-corruption authorities are created as bodies which are meant to appear to fight corruption, not to fight corruption.
Is that the same thing that's happening here in Kenya?
I suspect that what many people, particularly within the leadership and those who are engaged in corruption, the so-called cartels, simply want a body that will go out there and tell people corruption is a bad thing. That does not harm them. Immediately, you target individuals. Immediately, you begin to investigate individuals with political networks. You become a marked man and a marked institution. And that is why the fight against corruption does not go very far. And it must not be lost on us that even Kenyans appear to celebrate the corrupt. One of the most difficult things in Kenya today is to be honest. If you are honest in this country, I dare tell you, you are an endangered species. If you are an honest individual who believes that corruption is a bad thing and you have the misfortune of offering yourself to serve in a public office, you'll be targeted. You'll be called many names. You'll be accused of many things. And unfortunately, Kenyans will believe those accusations.
And that is the same argument that the people who've been accused use, because their line has always been corruption is fighting back. I am innocent.
Corruption fights back when people are being investigated. It is very easy to identify the corrupt. In the recent past, the media has publicized some of the houses which have been constructed by members of county assemblies. Those who are engaged in honest work will tell you that it will take you 15 to 20 years to build a decent 3-bedroomed house if you are in the middle class. How is it that individuals who are in public service, whose salaries are known, within 2 years have built these mansions and have built other commercial mansions, and Kenyans are not angry, and nobody thinks that they are corrupt? In other words, we condone corruption. In other words, we celebrate them. In other words, we love corruption. So let us not accuse EACC.
So who's to blame here? Is it the leadership or the Kenyans?
All of us. We have all sinned and fallen short of the glory of the expectations of both God and man. But remember that in every country that the fight against corruption has achieved acceptable levels, it must start with the leadership. So the leadership must demonstrate at the level of the presidency. The president did, not in so many words, a few years ago, declare corruption a national disaster, and several of his cabinet members left office. That was a good beginning. One would have loved to see governors, some of them whom we know are engaged in corruption, also losing their office. One would have loved to see some members of parliament whose shenanigans we are familiar with losing office. One would have loved to see certain members of the MCAs losing office. Some would have loved to see many of these things happening and people losing not only their office but their property, but yet that does not happen. So all of us, we Kenyans, must demonstrate that we hate corruption. So the leadership and the followership are to blame. And until the day that we demonstrate that we hate corruption, until the day that we demonstrate that individuals who are engaged in corruption are going to be punished, it is the innocent who are going to suffer in this country. And I'm telling you, Trevor, one of the most difficult things in Kenya today is to be honest. If you are honest, as a professional, you will not get decent work. Whether you are a doctor, a lawyer, or an architect, it is difficult to get decent work. So there is no incentive for people to be honest. The incentive is for people to invest in corruption because corruption pays in this country.
And many wonder whether EACC should perhaps be disbanded.
That is a debate that the country must now begin to engage in. Whether we have created these bodies to help us in the fight against corruption. And I don't think that that is a debate that is out of place. When you create a body, you must assist that body in achieving its mandate. If you look at South Africa, for example, where we have the Office of the Public Protector, there is a conscious decision by all arms of government to ensure that that body works. In Tanzania today, FCCB is being assisted by the president and all organs of government to perform and achieve its function. Right now, in Nigeria, the body that is fighting corruption has a conscious support from the head of state. In Botswana, it is the same thing. In Namibia, it is the same thing. And the support of the population. The president may want to support an organization, but if the population and other organs of government are not interested in the fight against corruption, then it will not be realized. You and me know, for example, that in many counties now, things are happening which cannot be called by any other name other than blatant theft and corruption. We had a county in this country where a wheelbarrow was bought for 190,000. Nobody talks about it now. We had a county in this country where a gate was made purportedly for 1 million Kenya shilling. The people were not angry. The people were not outraged. Kenyans are not outraged. Kenyans are not angry. Their anger is manifested in hidden places such as Twitter and the social media, not in the streets. In India and other places in the world, people come out to demonstrate their anger and disgust. But we don't do that here.
Yeah. And finally, what can be done to fight these cartels that seem to have held the country in ransom?
Experience has demonstrated that when there is concerted political effort And when there is a national consciousness against corruption, then corruption can't be fought successfully. The only thing that we must remember is that the children of darkness have this uncanny habit of organizing, and 9 out of 10 times they always win the battles that they engage in. It is time that the children of light also congregated and began to fight in a manner that will at once destroy and disorient the children of darkness. It can be done, it must be done, because if it is not done, we as a country will be done.
All right. Thank you very much for making time, Prof.